Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Friday evening, December 28th, 2018. Tonight's topic, crypto spring higher, gold and silver gain, and Indian gold imports dip. Last night we talked about Indian silver imports hitting a 33-month high. Looks like a lot of the October activity in precious metals imports went to silver in October in India rather than gold. Before we get to that, let's take a look at what happened in the markets today. First, let's start off with cryptocurrencies because they did spring higher across the board. Bitcoin right now at 38.87, up almost 8%. Bitcoin Cash up 16% to $173. Ethereum up 19% to $137.25. Litecoin up 16.4% at $32.25, and Ethereum Classic at $5.24. Let's move over to gold and silver. Now, gold and silver had decent days. It seems like we're now, if you remember, over the summer through the fall, we just consistently went lower and lower and lower. And ever since then, the last couple of months, we just seem to be rising higher and higher. And let's take a look at gold today. Gold was up $6.17. And we're going to talk about the equity markets. They were essentially flat. But gold managed to get a half a percentage increase and did get up to 1281.85, but closed at the 1280 mark. And that's where it stands right now. Silver, on the other hand, is doing what it's done now for the third trading session in a row, which is outperform gold. And we said silver would outperform gold if gold was rising for a period of time, and gold has been, although only for a short period of time, but it has been outperforming silver for a few months on the way up. But now silver's doing a little catch-up, up 16 cents today to $15.37. It's about where it is right now as well. And the aftermarket's up 1.05%. And what does that do to the unsustainable gold-silver ratio? Well, it came down a little bit again. Still above 80, but it is at 83.4 to 1 or 83.41 to 1. So we're seeing some decent movement in the gold and silver markets the last couple of months. Still, with these rises, gold is down about 3% on the year and silver about 10.5%. So it looks like gold will outperform silver this year, absent a huge spike on Monday in silver. Now, as to the stock markets, hard to say what happened today, but all indexes finished within the biggest gap was the Dow fell 0.33%. NASDAQ was actually up 0.08%, and S&P 500 was up 0.12%. So not much movement, although it looked like the Dow was pretty much range bound till about 130, and then it actually took off and rose 200 points, 230 points, and then gave that all back and fell down 76 points. So the question is, was the PPT involved today? If they were probably pushing it up those 200 points, and they did not paint the tape at the end of the day and come up with a positive number for the day. But again, I think they don't want to make it too obvious and just have the stock price go up and up. They need to allow certain amounts of the whatever remnants of the natural market are in there to take hold. And so perhaps they were involved today, perhaps they weren't. Let me know what you guys think. My guess is they were involved in boosting the price up and then letting it drift lower by the end of the day. I think the other things is if people think that the PPT is there, it makes them nervous or bold, depending on whether you're going short or long, and that sometimes is enough to influence the price. I think a lot of shorts were probably stunned at the covering that went on the last couple of days when we had those massive increases in the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, and S&P 500. Now, some other things on the markets, some quick observations. we did a poll trading in December. Most of you still think this is a bear market rally, that this is not a bull market correction, but rather a bear market rally. And that's what we have on Twitter. I haven't gotten the full results yet from you guys on YouTube, but I think it's probably going to come out the same way. People are still thinking that this is a bear market rally, not a bull market correction. Now, the other thing is, with this market, just to drive home the point that we've been making, is that people are saying it's a dead cat bounce, and the other night I was saying, well, the cat was never alive. It's always been a fake cat. And I think what we've seen the last 10 years is the fundamentals have been generally bearish, but the financially engineered reality has been bullish. So the question is, are we going to continue to see financially engineered reality in the form of higher stock prices? Because higher stock prices have taken the place of increased productivity in the economy. And of course, you know my thesis for next year with the cryptocurrencies. Those are another asset class that they can boost in the same way that they can boost stocks without adding one extra bit of, or very little value to the overall economy. They can add asset value. And as Janet Yellen and Bernanke and many of those Fed apologists think, that rising asset prices, real estate prices, stock prices, and so on create a wealth effect, and it makes people spend, and that's good for the economy. So we'll see what happens with stocks and cryptos next year. I would imagine, as long as they're not totally against Donald Trump and they're for their own wallets, I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to continue to see the drive to boost asset prices higher. Also, interesting, Jordan Peterson is now accepting Bitcoin, and he's concerned about the freedom of speech issues when you can't receive payment from your Patreon or from any other, or from PayPal, because they don't like what you say. So they cut off your ability to get paid. And apparently, since he's been accepting Bitcoin, he's received about $2,700, which means he's received about 0.78, maybe 8.8 of a Bitcoin in just the past couple of days. Be nice if I got that kind of thing, but if you're interested in sending, I will take it. Bitcoin, Litecoin, no fees, just send it. There it is on the screen. Hold your phone up and send away. It's funny, people send money to the people that make a lot of money. It's kind of an odd way of looking at things. You normally would like to support the people who aren't making that kind of money. In any event, it's interesting, and I think that is a use case for cryptocurrencies, is the ability to send them, and the people can receive the value. It can choose to convert them directly into fiat, or they can hold on to them, but the choice is the person receiving them, and the person sending them doesn't have to pay a fee. And the best thing is, no one can stop you and say, we don't like your brand, we don't like what you're saying, we're going to hold your funds. That can't happen. So that's a nice thing to see, that Jordan Peterson is supporting Bitcoin. I think Tim Pool is also another one talking about accepting cryptocurrencies. I know BitChute and Gab have also done the same. I think Gab has actually set up their own BTC server so they can accept cryptocurrency payments. So there is a use case there for sure. Now, speaking of gold and silver, let's take a look at, we haven't looked at these charts for a while, and those charts are the Brinks and the JP Morgan silver stockpile charts. And Brinks has gone down about 5 million in his holdings since we last checked. They're up to around 55 million ounces, and now they're down about 50.6 million ounces. These are the ounces of silver they hold in the 999 1,000 ounce good delivery bars on COMEX. JP Morgan's silver pile has gone down a bit as well, just a little bit, well, pretty much. Doesn't look like a lot on here, but it was up around 151 million, and it's now at about 146.9. So JP Morgan, generally it still looks like they're adding to the pile, and these again are the 999 fine 1,000 ounce bars. Not necessarily ownership or title held by JP Morgan and or Brinks. Silver Doctors today said that Peter Schiff, Ron Paul, and others have been warning that the border wall will be used to keep people out, not to use to keep people out, but to keep Americans in. And my response is this would dash the plans of many Americans who would like to form a caravan, maybe starting in Michigan, and march all the way to Venezuela to spend their silver. We had a gentleman on the other night talking about why silver was so valuable, because in Venezuela you can spend it. And, well, if they were to close the border down, that would dash the dreams of many who wish to walk all the way to Venezuela just so they can realize the value of their silver or Bitcoin or whatever it might be. Over in China, we find, looks like the crying uncle, I don't know how to say uncle in Chinese, but Chinese custom authorities give green light for U.S. rice imports. Now, China imports about a third of what the United States imports from China in dollar terms, and what China imports, though, are very important items. Rice, oil, liquid natural gas, soybeans, things you need to eat and to live. A lot of what the United States gets from China, a lot of it is important items, white goods like refrigerators, televisions, electronics, but also we get a lot of trinkets. And so China definitely needs rice more than the U.S. needs cheap Christmas ornaments. What else we have in the news today before we move on to Indian gold imports? Well, here's an interesting fact. And you hear these from time to time. That drinking's good for you, drinking's not good for you, coffee's good for you, it's not good for you, gives you a heart attack, drinking kills you. Here's a new study saying that drinking alcohol and coffee can help you live past 90. And of course, if you haven't done so, you can drink your beer out of a Smaulgld mug or stein, which we have on sale, or you can drink your coffee from a Smaulgld mug. But someone in China took this the wrong way, it seems. Uh-oh, we got a moron here. Check this one out. One weird trick. Passenger gets around no liquid rule by chugging her cognac before the flight. Now, she tried to get on the plane, according to this story, and they told her you can't bring the bottle on the plane. So she said, no worries, guzzled the whole thing and got really sick, started acting and mumbling incoherently, and then she could not get on the flight. So that is not the way to drink alcohol to live to 90 years old. You won't even get to your destination if you do that. What else do we got? Let's look at the Dow gold ratio. We haven't looked at that for a while. And this is up through yesterday. And you could see gold moving up at the top and the Dow moving down. And we've got a Dow gold ratio at about 17.9 to 1. Still relatively elevated. If gold really does take off, you'd like to see that close to 1 to 1. That's the point where a lot of pros say, anything between 1 and 5 or 6 to 1 is when you really want to switch out of your gold and then go long stocks. But I think that all depends on what exactly is happening. But cross that bridge when we come to it, if we ever come to it. And copper. I thought this was an interesting story today. Copper is not only found in electric wiring, it is in almost every electronic device used today. Well, that tells me we could not live our lives without copper. Copper is so useful. Copper has been money for 5,000 years, and copper is set to skyrocket. So you can say all these phrases about copper just like you can that they do for silver. Copper's been used as a medium of exchange, still is in many parts of the world, even in the United States. Your nickels are 75% copper. Copper has been money for 7,500 years. It's so useful. We could not lead our lives without copper. Yeah, copper set to skyrocket. And actually, copper makes better bullets than silver does. When I talk about silver bullet, silver shield, copper's probably better for both of those items. And finally, before we go into Indian gold, our friends over at Wells Fargo, Warren Buffett's favorite stock, I believe. Warren Buffett they were saying, I don't know, Business Insider was asking how much you would pay to have lunch with Warren Buffett. That to me is a pass. I wouldn't have lunch with Warren Buffett. You'd have to pay me first class to get there and all of my expenses, and I'd want a $1,000 honorarium just to sit with him. What am I going to get out of sitting with Warren Buffett? Anyway, his bank here is paying $575 million to settle with states. I don't know what they have all these practices where they set up accounts, and they set up accounts for people that they don't have, and then they charge. Who knows what they've done? But apparently 50 states are looking 50 states are looking to sue Wells Fargo, and they settled. So which means we'll never know exactly what they did, why they did it, but it's $575 million. All right, let's take a look now at what's happening in Indian gold imports. I'll have a full report on it tomorrow. I thought I'd preview some of the charts with you tonight, and you can ask any questions you might have. Uh-oh, we got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld. This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
All right, well, we learned last night that Indian silver imports were at multi-year highs. 1,034 tons of silver imported in 1 month alone in October. That's 33 million ounces, if you're keeping track in ounces. Well, the gold numbers aren't bad for October, but they're 45 tons, which was down from the 72 tons last October. But you can see it's a pretty steady amount of gold flowing into India. India is price sensitive. It's as it should be with commodities. Commodities, you buy more when they're cheaper, and you buy fewer of them when they're more expensive. Just like you drive less when the price of oil is higher, and you drive more, i.e. you consume more, you buy more when the price is lower. India, gold is woven into the fabric of their culture. There's gold buying season after the crops are pulled in. If you've had a good rainy season, monsoon season, rural farmers have more money, more rupees. That means they're going to buy more gold. There's Diwali, there's gold giving festivals, and they will buy when the price is low, and they will hold off their purchases when the price is high. And if the price starts to inch up a bit, they'll buy less. Now, a lot of this is not direct here. These are gold imports, which are a good proxy for gold demand because India has virtually no gold mining, so their demand is often met by what they have to import. Now, there is a large amount of gold in India, and there is a strong secondary market, and there's a gold that is recycled. So there's like 22,000 tons probably of gold in and around temples and in the Indian citizens' hands. But for new gold and for newly wrought jewelry, they've got to import the gold. And 45 tons, nothing to sneeze at, but it's not a big month. It's still more dollar value than they import in silver, but as far as a comparison, gold to gold, month over month, year over year, it's a bit down. It's down a little bit. Here, let me give you this here. You can see this year, 2017 versus 2018. Last year was a good year. It was 900 some odd tons. This year, they'll probably get to about 650, 700 plus. Not a bad year, but not as good as last year. And you can see that in the blue. Although, last year, 2017, second half of the year wasn't as strong. And in fact, you can see June, July, August, and September of this year actually outpaced last year. So, but you did have 1 month in May of 2017, 124 tons. You had 2 months over 100 tons imported, nearly 3 in April. This year, only August approached that with 95 tons. And let's just take a look at a longer term chart by month. This gives you a better idea of the trends. And you can see when the gold price was cheaper back in 2015, they were really raking it in. That's to the far left. Then you can see in where that trough is in the middle, that's 2016. That's the Brexit period when the price skyrocketed. And then when it dipped again, you could see The fall, it always picks up because that's the gold buying season. And usually in the beginning of the year, it's still strong. But you can see we haven't had a 100-ton month since May 2017. So it's been a while. It's been a while. But strong gold, better this year than 2016, but not better than 2017, and certainly not better than 2015. And let's see how that looks on an annualized chart here. Let's see. Here we go. This is our final chart. Then we'll take some questions. Okay, so here's Indian gold imports 1999 to 2018. 647 tons so far this year. As I mentioned, if you do another 100, probably 50 and 50, that'll get you to 747. Good year, but not quite the 2010, 11, 12, 15, and 17 years where you're in the 900s. But India taking a break on its gold imports. And, gold... India and China... They actually put a floor on Indian gold demand, physical demand. Now, we know a lot of the Western gold demand is met via ETFs and contracts and so on. But this gold here, this is mostly jewelry gold, fine jewelry, dowry-style jewelry. They don't sell as many coins and bars as they do in the West. Most of this is very high quality jewelry, 22, 24 karat jewelry. The same with the silver demand. It's largely silverware and jewelry as well. Wearable wealth. You don't have to have a coin. You don't have to have a stack to invest in, but it has a dual purpose because it is wearable and it is also a show of wealth. And as Indians get wealthier, I'd expect that you'll see the gold and silver demand in India and in China too. If China doesn't collapse, the Chinese people will continue to buy gold and to a lesser extent silver in China. If it continues to be an industrial powerhouse, as India is becoming one as well, they will need silver for their industry. China's big on solar panels, electronics, and India also. Not so much in the manufacturing, but they also have the world's largest solar power plant. So India does have solar demand for silver as well as jewelry. And I think that's it in terms of what we got to talk about tonight, other than whatever your comments might be on the plunge protection team. Anything you want to tell me about the mugs? Anyone received their mugs? So let's take a look at the comments that we got. All right. Well, our first comment is from JRL Innovations. He says, cryptos are evil, Luciferian type. Beep. Not a fan of the cryptos, JRL Innovation isn't. Michael Goodrich, no competition to the dollar. Emerging markets in trouble. China looking like beep. Now, they didn't bleep his comment out here. That's interesting. I think they'll be able to prop up the markets without damaging the dollar. Desensitized in the U.S. debt complete. JRL Innovations, it trades 24/7, which messes with the human emotions. You go to sleep, it could be down. It's simply not stable. Well, that is true. Now, the question, though, I have just about markets in general, should they be like farmers markets? Meaning you rise with the sun, you go out, you do your work, and then you come in at night when the darkness falls and there's no farming to be done. You're not out there in the middle of the night. Now, there are times when farmers will be out there in the middle of the night in modern times when they have things like hailstorms. They have all types of equipment they try to set up to prevent the grapes from being damaged. But for the most part, let's just stick to waking hours for markets. Is that right? Clearly, yes, you can get caught off guard if you go to bed because they trade 24/7. However, you do kind of have with global markets, while the New York Stock Exchange may be closed, what's happening in foreign markets is the foreign markets are open when the U.S. markets are closed, and they have an impact and vice versa. Now, cryptos are traded 24/7. I don't know. Casinos are open 24/7. I mean, I guess you can make that analogy. I'm not quite sure whether I'm for or against it, because one of the problems I have with weekends is something dramatic happens over the weekend that would influence the price of, say, gold or silver, but it's not trading. I would imagine, at least in the cryptos, if something happened, I don't know what it would be, well, some hack or something, you'd want to have access to trading. So I'm not sure it's a bad thing that they trade 24/7. Roger, Lewis, keep watching the gold-silver ratio. You'll see. Yes, she will be 16-1. Yeah, I've talked about this. The 16-1 gold-silver ratio, the only time it was there was when they set it for purposes of bimetallicism, when they wanted to have a standard. That was a fixed ratio. That was not a market ratio. In the last 150 years, it's only been 16-1 for about 10 minutes in 1980 during the Hunts brothers, whatever you want to call it, debacle, corning of silver, crushing of the Hunts brothers. But lots of reasons why the gold-silver ratio is not 16-1 or 9-1. And one of them is that relative rarity is not dispositive on price. Platinum comes out of the ground 10 times less than gold, and yet platinum is cheaper than gold. And you could say, well, it's not a monetary metal. Well, you could say the same about silver. Not going to get into that discussion tonight. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes. Roger Henley says, Lynette Zhang says it too. So they both can't be wrong, can they? That is a thing that you realize in the gold and silver community, whether you call it the pumper community or not. They basically all say the same things, and they all repeat each other, and they all go on each other's channels and say the same thing. And then everybody who watches those channels hears it from 27 different places, from 13 or 14 different speakers. And then they hear me say something different, and they're like, shill, disinformation agent, and so on. They want to hear the confirmation bias. Good to know. Fair enough. De La Ville, I think they will funnel dump dollars into the stock market. One way to control hyperinflation. Roger Henley, Lewis, why do you need donations when you have a massive stack of priceless mugs? That is true. I'm the wealthiest man. Right now I have 3 boxes left of mugs. That makes me one of the wealthiest persons on earth. I measure my wealth in mugs. And you know, if any donations I do receive, they'll go back into mugs, because I believe in mugs. Mugs are real wealth, and mugs cannot go to zero. And to a lesser extent, I believe in glass. But, you know, one thing about glass is they always recycle it. But once a mug is gone and cracked, it's gone forever. So that's why mugs are really rare, because they don't recycle ceramics the way they recycle glass. All right, let's see. Japan is promoting a natural... Yes, Pablo Pina says jewelry is not always 24K. That is correct. Generally, it's not a good idea for it to be 24K. You want to have it less than that just to give it some strength. You like to mix some copper. Also makes it give it a little red tinge when you put copper in it too. But you can have 24 karat. But I would say, I think where's my wedding ring? I think my ring is probably 18. In America, you don't get 22 karat very much. It's probably 14 or 18 karat. But most gold in America, and in England, they have it like a 10 karat. I hear Buffett's a cheapskate. Lunch would be at McDonald's. I wouldn't go. No interest. Seriously, I'm not saying arrogantly you'd have to pay me, but you would. If it was not anywhere near my house and I had to go somewhere, I'd want to get paid to go. I wouldn't. What do I want to see him for? All right, unless he's going to give me money. Or someone's going to give me money to have lunch with him. What am I going to ask him? How did you know to buy Goldman Sachs before the financial crisis? How did you know that if Goldman Sachs went down, that the government would bail them out and that you wouldn't be harmed? How did you figure that out? What a genius! I have no interest in talking to him. Let's see. Japan is promoting a national crypto. Copper can now be used to make gold. Yeah, I saw that with the Chinese thing. Yes, but copper bullets won't kill werewolves. That's right. He's a cheapskate. Buffett would provide lunch at a soup kitchen. Full name says 96.5 in most Asian countries. Yeah. All right, goldsmiths. Miser. Remember when the plunge protection team PPT was considered conspiracy theory? I don't know who considered it conspiracy theory, because last night I showed you the executive order from Ronald Reagan. It's not, the Exchange Stabilization Fund isn't conspiracy theory. It was established in 1934. So these are, and I don't know why anyone think it was a conspiracy theory. It exists and they use it. And the problem is you don't know when they use it or how much they use it. But here's the thing. Mnuchin said, I'm going to meet with the plunge protection team tomorrow, a couple of days ago. So he brought it right out into the open. Aaron Schneider, I will stick to silver and gold. As compared to what? The Morbid 33, at nighttime you trade in the 4-hour chart to avoid waking up 5% or just go cash at night. Well, that's true. Yes, and that's why they have those stable coins, I'd imagine. You can trade, and if you're worried about your position, you close out your, if you're a trader, you close out your position into a stable coin, and then when you wake up, you place your bets again, if that's the life of a trader. Yeah, but again, Ann Holland says most conspiracy theories are being proven real. This was never a conspiracy theory. I mean, I'm going to pull it up again just for you guys who missed last night. The PPT was never a conspiracy theory. It was always a fact. Let me pull up the Ronald Reagan. Where is it? Here it is. I mean, the plunge protection team. I just want to show it to you because it was done by executive order, and says who's on it, and where did it go? Oh, wait, was it the 25th? Let's see. Here it is. Okay, here's the executive order. There you go. No conspiracy. Executive order 12631, Working Group on Financial Markets. You can read that. Now, you are right, Miser and Ann, that most conspiracy theories start out as conspiracy theories and they're proven true. But this one never was. This is an executive order. It was issued in early 1988, and you can read it. It was as a result of the financial, the Black Monday or Thursday, whatever it was, in 1987 when the stock market dropped 520 points. And it goes through who's in it and why they have it. That shall be comprised of the Secretary of Treasury, the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Fed, that would be Powell, the Secretary of Treasury would be Mnuchin, head of the SEC, head of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, and then the Secretary of Treasury will be the chairman of the group, reports to the president, and the idea is to enhance the integrity, efficiency, and orderliness and competitiveness of the nation's financial markets and maintain investor confidence. Basically, they renamed it, nicknamed it the Plunge Protection Team, but the Plunge Protection Team is indeed the President's Working Group on Financial Markets, established by Executive Order 12631 by Ronald Wilson Reagan. All right, let's see. Mug inflation. Guillaume Charts. Here's a quote. What took you 60 minutes of work to buy in 1980 and only took 21 minutes of work to buy in 2017? Could that be true? Yeah, well, let's say I have some 22. Okay. Pablo Pena. Men in .com, 24K jewelry, but they all sold out looking for my size. I haven't looked into that. I wonder if the price of that is close to spot. Eric Schneider, how about a pure silver mug? I'd like to get one made, but I'm having trouble finding someone make me the Smaulgld rounds. And but it'd be nice to make silver items. Maybe I need to learn how to become a silversmith. JR Innovations, Peter Schiff called the PPT conspiracy theory. Well, it's not. He also says there's no manipulation in the gold and silver markets. So, I don't know. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. Mnuchin said he was going to, he said he was going to, he even called it the Plunge Protection Team. Here, I'm not going to show it to you again. If anyone doubts me, I can send you it. Schiff said many times the PPT did not exist. Yeah, they did, but you know what? I actually have a a video. I was going to play it for the other night. I didn't realize how many people thought this was a conspiracy theory. If something is a fact and it's easily found, it can't be a conspiracy theory. If just people are ignorant and then they say it doesn't exist because they don't know any better, well, that's ignorance. That's not a conspiracy theory. See, so for example, did they land on the moon? And people say, no, they didn't land on the moon. Well, that's a conspiracy theory. Because there's no fact that you can point to say they did or didn't. There's supposed facts that say they did, and there's facts that say they didn't. And that leads to some type of discussion or dispute as to what happened. Just like Kennedy assassination, global warming, climate change, all these things, flat earth, these are back and forth, and you get conspiracy theories around them. But there is no executive order declaring something on the this is a fact. There's no hiding it. There is a group that will meet, can meet, does meet, and the only thing that's conspiracy about the plunge protection team is they never provide minutes, and we don't know when they meet, if they meet. But in this case, Mnuchin said, we're going to meet. And no one said, you're going to meet. I thought that was a conspiracy theory. Well, if you thought that, you didn't know that there actually is a team that is available to be reconvened by pursuant to an executive order from Ronald Reagan. Yep. So mainstream media, they deny manipulation. In fact, I've done research on this. There are many instances of proven gold and silver manipulation, not suspected manipulation. I'm not talking about when they naked short. That you can argue isn't manipulation if you want to argue that, because you can't prove that when somebody naked shorts that it's done to manipulate. They can have some other reason. Now, that's a stretch, but again, that's not proof. But I've done research where they've actually proven and they've actually admitted to manipulate. Well, look at the London gold pool. The purpose of the London gold pool was to manipulate the price to $35. That's a fact. That's what they tried to do. The fact that they set the gold price at $35 in 1934 by an act of Congress, that's manipulating the gold price. That's a fact. There's many examples of when the Fed lowers interest rates or does QE. It's not a conspiracy theory that they're trying to boost the stock market. They came right out and said it. Remember last night I read to you what Janet Yellen said. The purpose of QE was to raise asset prices. You mean the purpose of QE is to manipulate the stock market. The purpose of QE is to manipulate real estate prices. Here, for those of you who like the Janet Yellen impression, I'll do it one last time before I get off the phone here. She said, a lot of people say that this is helping rich people, but it's not true. Our policy is aimed at holding down long-term interest rates, which supports the recovery by encouraging spending. And part of it comes through higher house and stock prices. There you go. Higher house and stock prices engineered by QE by holding down long-term interest rates, artificially manipulating, and it causes people with homes and stocks to spend more, which causes jobs to be created throughout the economy and income to go up throughout the economy. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is full-on admitted that QE was designed to boost the stock market and the real estate market, which means it was designed to manipulate both of them. Not a conspiracy theory. That is a fact. That's what she said. All right, well, I'm going to head out unless anyone has any more comments or questions, or otherwise we will see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow I want to talk about middlemen, and so come with your questions on middlemen. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you with, what am I going to leave you with? I think Buddy again is a good way to leave you. Nice looking dog there with the Smaulgld glasses. All right, everyone. Have a good night.